Hey, everybody. Welcome to kind of like a virtual day party, but it's really a Latch party. We are having one big Latch party. August is breastfeeding month, and so that is what this is all about. So shout out to all of our mamas that are breastfeeding, our mommies to be who are anticipating it, maybe even anxious about it. I'm your host, Ro, and we are going to be joined with Birthing Beautiful Communities, a lot of wonderful women who are going to share their testimonies, and also women from Birthing Beautiful Communities that have doula backgrounds. They're doulas. They're going to give you some knowledge, share a lot of insight, answer some questions, address some misconceptions. But basically, we are a village. We are a support team of women and men, but ultimately looking out for each other to get us excited about latching and breastfeeding our beautiful babies and babies to be. So without further ado, we're going to bring on some of our women that are going to share their testimonies. But before that, I just want to encourage anyone watching right now, if you have any questions, anything you want to share, address, please feel free to type that in the comment section. We will address it as we get through our event. I also was a breastfeeding mom, and I can speak for myself that it was a wonderful, wonderful experience. I was super excited to breastfeed my son, who is now 4. He's about to be 5. Oh my gosh. But it was something I really wanted to do. I wanted that intimate connection with him and being able to provide my breast milk for him to grow and to thrive. But there were a lot of concerns and some things I was anxious about. But through my support system, I was able to get that covered and got me, excited and encouraged to do what I needed to do for my thriving family. So now we want to do that with you and yours. So let's welcome to our screen, our show, Latoya Strickland, who's going to share some about her experience. Hey, Latoya.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. How you doing?
Good. Lost my voice a little bit, but it's okay.
You was
So
yelling at somebody
sometimes, it's like that sometimes.
singing one of them. All right. Well, let's talk about your experience with latching and breastfeeding and all of that, Joy.
Yeah. So when I found out I was pregnant, I was so overjoyed. Like I wanted to have a baby for like 18 years. So when it happened, it was such a miracle experience for me.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was instantly filled with like doubt and fear because I had had a previous miscarriage before. So I was, and with our infant mortality rates, especially in our area, I was afraid like if I would be able to carry a healthy baby to term, but also if I can keep that baby alive for a year. So I knew I needed support. I went
Yeah.
to my doctor and I said, I need a doula. And she recommended BBC. And it was like the best decision I could have made for my family. I definitely went into breastfeeding with a goal. I wanted to breastfeed exclusively for 6 months and then transition to baby led weaning and breastfeed for 12 months. I am happy to report everyone that my daughter is almost 16 months old and we are still breastfeeding and we're
Yeah.
going to do it, until she's finished pretty
Okay.
much. I would definitely say like things have been really good for me and helpful. First is education. I went to every single class that BBC had. Every class took meticulous notes so that I could be armed with the information that I needed in case something happened. In around 10 months, my supply did drop. And I was like, oh, Yukina, that was my doula. I'm like, what am I going to do? And we were able to work out a plan for me. So that was really
Nice.
great. And second, just a support system. Like I have my doula Yukina, but also I took everything my hospital had to offer. Like I was even part of like a trial where they called me every single week for 12 weeks to see how my breastfeeding was going and provided support. And definitely lastly, my partner has been extremely supportive. Like my family, we did not talk about breastfeeding. I know my mother did not breastfeed. And so it sometimes was discouraging
Yeah.
talking to family, so it was good to have my little support system to help me out. So, I would just encourage moms, definitely educate yourself. Make sure that you know what's gonna come, like the good, the bad, and the ugly, so that you're prepared. But also definitely have your breastfeeding tribe. You need someone to gravitate to and fall back on when things don't go the way that you think they should. And so I know some people have questions like, can I breastfeed and still do my life? Absolutely. Currently, I am in Oregon. I'm about to run the Hood to Coast relay with my Run with the Winners, and I'm breastfeeding and pumping, and it's working
Okay.
just fine. Is breastfeeding hard? Yes. And is it worth it? Absolutely, yes. It's the best decision I could have ever made. So, just thanks, guys, for giving me the opportunity to share my story.
Yeah, thank you for sharing, Latoya. We appreciate that, and just keep going. I know you said until your baby. Do you have a girl, a daughter?
I do, yes.
Okay, so until your daughter says, "All right, mommy, we got this, we good," I think that speaks volumes, because a lot of people have a goal, and then it's like, "All right, I made my goal, but you know what? If you could keep going, keep going. Why not?"
Yeah, until she's
Yeah.
ready.
Until she's ready. Shout out to Latoya. Latoya, thank you so much. We'll come and check back in with you in a minute if people have questions. But now we want to bring Kiera Black to our show, our event. Hey, Kiera,
Hi,
how
hi
are you?
everybody. Great, how are you?
Good, thank you. So let's talk about your experience, your story.
Yes, ma'am. So I did not come from a background of women that breastfed. That was not common. There's like one person in my life that breastfed, which was my stepmom. She breastfed all of my brothers. So when I knew I was having my daughter, I have a baby girl, I immediately knew like I'm gonna breastfeed. This is something I want to do. It's natural. Just allow your body to do what it's made to do.
Yeah.
I ended up having a cesarean. So there was only one situation where I was a little nervous about, oh my goodness, is she going to latch? Because after my C section, my husband had her. So we did not have that immediate body to body contact.
Yeah.
But when they gave it to me, I mean, she came right to me. She went right to my breast.
She knew.
Yeah, she did. She knew. And so I had the utmost confidence with that. I had a lactation specialist that came in after delivery. I also went through BBC, Birthing Beautiful Communities. I had two doulas actually. I had Yukina and also had my aunt Jackie Hendon. Woo-hoo. So they were so awesome. If I had any questions, I mean, Yukina would come over and just we'll go over latching. Especially like when your breasts get really tender and sore, and it's like, oh my goodness, do I want to keep doing it?
Right.
Absolutely. Like it was so worth it. Just get you some cream, number that. Um, I will say for all of you, don't allow anyone to discourage you and just stay the course. You have to remember that, especially for those first time moms, it's a new experience for you, it's a new experience for your baby. So you're on this journey together, right? So sometimes you'll have those days where you might be a little frustrated and you're second guessing and like, oh my goodness, am I doing this right? But I will highly encourage all of you to just reset. Like each day is a new day, stay the course, and just keep going. When my daughter had her first doctor's appointment, we took her to a pediatrician. And for those of you who are not parents or mommies to be, your babies are going to lose weight within the first week. Okay. Don't be nervous about that. But when we took our daughter to see her pediatrician, the pediatrician said, your baby lost so much weight. I'm a little concerned. Why are you opposed to formula feeding? And I said, why are you opposed to breastfeeding? And so, with my husband and I being new parents, she just thought we didn't have, you know, adequate information and, a great support system, which we did. And I said, I am confident in what I'm doing. I'm going to continue to breastfeed, and I don't appreciate you discouraging me. So, I will tell everybody make sure that you advocate for yourself. Breastfeeding is a full time job. You literally burn 300, 500 calories a day. Okay. So, if you're tired, if you have a partner, your parents, a best friend, anybody that can come over and just help you out around the house sometimes, that's okay too. If you need a little bit of rest after breastfeeding, that's okay too. So yeah, that's my experience. It's been a beautiful, beautiful experience. My daughter is 1.5. I'm still breastfeeding her. My goal is 2 years old. I breastfed exclusively for 1 year. And so now I'll give her almond milk here and there, but we're still breastfeeding and we're going when we have a mutual agreement and she says, okay, I'm done. I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's my advice. Just stay the course, advocate for yourself, set your goal, and just lean on to those who can support you.
Absolutely. And you know what I love about what you said too, Kiera, is you got to kind of like, well, you didn't say this verbatim, but like stand your ground. If you
Yes.
believe that that's what you want to do, because, with Latoya's story, she didn't come from a breastfeeding community as far as her family goes. And a lot of women don't have that experience and they're not talking about it. So it's like there's so many ways to be discouraged and be misled, misguided. But if in your heart, you want to have that intimacy with your child and experience that and feed them yourself, breastfeed yourself, do it. Don't let nobody take that from you. And then if you don't know what to do, then you get the help from BBC and you get the help from your support group so that you can experience, because it really is. It's amazing. We'll get to more of that for those of you like, well, really is it? Because I've heard some things, but we're going to get to that. And shout out to you and Latoya so far for sharing your wonderful experiences, because that is really uplifting and encouraging for someone who has heard the horror stories. So thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Now we're going to bring on Sharnice McLean. Hey, Sharnice.
Hi.
How are you?
How you doing? I'm good.
Good.
So I have four children. Um, my oldest is just turned 14 on Tuesday. And then with her, I didn't breastfeed. I was really, really young when I had my first kid. Well, not really young. I was 18. Fresh out of high school, had my first kid. A year later, I had another kid. I worked. My life was really, really busy. So breastfeeding wasn't something that I really felt like I had time for because breastfeeding requires so much of your time. It's really another full-time job. With my third kid, though, I kind of slowed down a little bit and I tried to breastfeed, but the company I was working for, just they weren't family oriented, I should
Mm-hmm.
say. And so I stopped breastfeeding just because it was too much. I was in an office pumping, and someone walked in and was like, "Oh, I didn't know anyone was in here." There was nowhere for me to have privacy to be able to feed, and it just became too much. So I was like, you know what? I'm just not gonna do it anymore, and I switched over to formula. Well, last year I had a baby 10 years later. And I knew going into that I wanted to breastfeed. I wanted to do everything as natural as possible. And we are 8 months into breastfeeding. The breastfeeding journey has been bittersweet. Um, it's a great resource, but they attach to their mommies, and sometimes they don't want to go to other people. And so that's one of the things that I've noticed that steers women away from actually wanting to breastfeed, because we want to get back to our life. We want to go party. We
Mm-hmm.
want to go, to the cookouts and hang out. And we want to do all of this stuff that we used to do before we had a baby. And it's hard sometimes. It's hard a lot of times. My son is 8 months and I've probably been out twice since he has been born, because he is so attached to mom. You know, we call them COVID babies because we had them, through COVID. So for the most part, they've been in the house under their family, under their mom and dad's most of the time. And so he's like that. So he only wants his mom for the most part, and he goes to dad too. But just having that attachment sometimes can be discouraging. But I encourage women to don't let it discourage you, because in the end, it's very rewarding. It's very joyful. Um, but that was my experience in my journey with breastfeeding. And I appreciate you allowing me this opportunity to speak about it.
No, thank you. We appreciate you. It's funny you were talking about, like, it's basically a lifestyle. Like, I remember it was several times
Yes.
where I was asked to go out somewhere, like go out of town, and I was like, wait a second, go out of town. I gotta pump. I gotta, like, no, that's too much. I can't do all of that. Like, I've made decisions based off my pumping lifestyle. So I get it. Like, it really is.
Listen,
But it's
I've
rewarding. And
invested
then you know what you're doing it for, right? So
right. I've invested. I have an LV pump, so I pump when I want to, but most times we just do the breast. But it's very rewarding. But yeah, vacations and hanging out and stuff like that is not right now. It's all about
yeah,
you right
like,
now.
it's all good though. It's all for the greater good. Shinies, thank you so much. We appreciate your story. We'll bring you guys back in a minute. Next up, we have Bianca Parms. Bianca, I'm going to tell you something real quick while you get on this screen. This is like very random, super off subject, but I always wanted my name to be Bianca. Why my mama ain't named me Bianca? Bianca, where you at, girl? There she is. Hi. Oh, she's muted. You're muted. There you go. Oh, muted again. These computers are so tricky. There we. Okay. It's like it's so sensitive.
Yes. Okay.
There
Can
we
you hear me
are.
now?
Okay. Yes.
All right. All right. All right. Thank you. Let
You're
me get extra
welcome.
behind me. So I have so much extra behind me. I'm sorry. You have
So
the baby. My daughter's 11 months now, and so
it's like you gotta entertain her too.
yes, I have to entertain her too. Even though my mom is helping me, and she's excited about me talking about, because I come from a generation of women that breastfeed. So
Okay.
this this is my second daughter. I have a daughter that's 24. So this is a gap between the expertise that I think I have.
Yeah.
Okay. And all over again, no matter what I thought I knew, what I thought I was ready for, I really was happy to have a lot of support
once I've met the doula Jackie from BBC,
Mm-hmm.
I had the most amazing experience with being prepared and trying to keep my anxiety down from being a new mom again at the age of 44. So it's a whole new path for me. I breastfed my first daughter. Breastfeeding now was something that made me fall in love with her all over again,
Yeah.
if you will. It was something I started. She latched on pretty good, decently at first, and all of a sudden, I have a daughter that really likes to eat, and she would latch on and snatch off of me when she was finished. So she would suck hard and snatch off. So I had to try to relearn a few techniques that I thought I was prepared for. And so with the help of my doula and a lot of classes that we were able to attend on Zoom and restructure, I was able to try to get her to do a proper latch on and feed, even though she made my nipples swell up. And I know you ladies, I mean, it's something that'll make you say, this is not for me. I don't want to do this. I'm hurting, crying, and had to re-prepare myself. I even had to heal myself wearing like a nipple cover just to protect it until I healed up and, got her latching and appropriated again. Other than that, just looking down at this new baby after so much time, I think I would cry and then I would smile and just be overjoyed. She is now, like I said, 11 months. This child likes to eat. I wasn't able to continue to breastfeed her with the balance of feeding her, cooking, and preparing. So that was just a little hiccup in my journey. Other than that, she still was able to bottle feed, and I was also offered donor milk. Okay. So women, if you are just at the point where breastfeeding has come to lack or something kind of drops, there is an option. And if you're open, there's healthy donors that offer breast milk for our babies before you try to just say, give up and I'm just going to do Similac or something like that. Because right now, with everything being so scarce, they're not sure what they're going to do with this powdered milk. They're going to start outsourcing outside of the country. We don't know what we're going to get. Mm-hmm. And these accidents, the things happening with the milk and our children being victims of, the negligence of these companies, I wouldn't even second guess doing the breastfeeding for our babies. Yeah. I still continue to give her breast milk on top of just her food and her, feeling better. She's had earaches, I think, that healed up quickly. Yep. She's never had a cold per se, but anytime she's felt bad, that breast milk has made wonders. And,
absolutely.
It's just, I'm excited about seeing her grow.
Yeah, as you should be. Well, shout out to you, Bianca. I know you're starting all over, but you've got experience, and kudos to your family that kind of passed that tradition on to you. And now you're being able to share that with other women and mommies to be. So thank you so much. We'll bring you back in a minute too. So sit tight.
Thank you for letting me share.
Thank you so much. You're welcome. So just want to remind you guys, if you have any questions, please feel free to type them. I see people sending emojis and letting us know that we see you watching, and we appreciate y'all. Hello to everybody. But again, don't feel shy or nervous. If you have a question, no question is a bad question. And it really could be something that you are not the only person wondering or wanting to know. So again, we're a support system here. It's a latch party, women supporting each other, mommies supporting each other. So just keep that in mind. Don't be shy. Put the question in the comment section and we will address it. All right. So our very last lovely lady to share her experience is Starla Ford. So welcome, Starla. Hey, Starla.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us. So let's talk about your experience.
Sure. So I have two children. My daughter is almost 9 and my son is 6 months. And I tried breastfeeding with both of them. Fast forward, or I should say rewind back to 8 years ago with my daughter, I really went into my pregnancy with the idea that I wanted a natural birth, that I wanted to breastfeed, very aware of the benefits of it, the health benefits. But I think I really went into that experience with this idea that, breastfeeding was going to be natural. It was going to be intuitive, that I was going to have her and give birth and she's going to pop on the boob and everything's going to be great. And of course, it went completely the opposite. It really wasn't easy. I was really struggling. And I think my mistake back then was that I didn't have that community or that support built up around me. I didn't come from a line of women that breastfed, a lot of formula in the family. And so, looking back at it, I know kind of exactly what happened. Like, she was cluster feeding. She was like nursing all day. I couldn't keep up with the demand. And just also, I think mentally and emotionally back then, like, I wasn't really aware of postpartum depression or baby blues. And I just hit a wall and I was like, I can't do this anymore. So I think we got about 3 or 4 weeks with my first daughter. And then I had like horrible mom guilt afterwards. I had built up this idea in my head that breastfeeding was going to be easy. I was going to do it. It was going to be great. And then it didn't work out. And I felt like a horrible mom for like weeks. So I feel like, now fast forward to 8 years later, I was pregnant with my son. I had a much better idea of, I think, how breastfeeding was going to work for me and for my family. And that's specifically why I reached out to Birthing Beautiful Communities, because I knew that I wanted that support in that community. So I went and I had my son, and then of course things still go wrong. You think you have one birth and you got it all done. I ended up having a C-section, had to go through the physical recovery of that. And then again, baby blues, postpartum depression. I will say this time I'm no longer breastfeeding, and my son's about 6 months, but I did like triple my time this time. I was able to get through 12 weeks through all of my maternity leave. And while it was disappointing that I didn't hit my goal, it was also really, really fulfilling this time around, because when I hit that wall this time, instead of just quitting, because I think I also had that idea that you either just breastfeed or you formula feed. We started supplementing with formula. I was still able to nurse. And this time around, I got through that wall and I was able to nurse comfortably with my son and really just fall in love with it and enjoy it. And I still had really beautiful moments. We got to have that connection. And while it didn't continue forever, I feel like I walked away from this experience with like just hope. If I get pregnant again for future children, I know that I can still do it. Even if it doesn't work out the longest, or if you don't hit your goals, I feel like I would still want mothers to know that experience and putting in that effort is really, really worth it. Even if it's just for a couple weeks, you can do it for a couple years. That's amazing, but just don't give up and make sure that you have those tools and those people around you.
Absolutely. I appreciate your story, Styler, because it's so easy to get discouraged. I know at one point in my journey, I felt like I wasn't producing enough milk, but I just was kind of like outsmarting myself. And when I finally got that support and the expertise I needed to keep going, I was thankful, because I would have been like, nope, I'm done. This ain't for me. But it really was. And I was so glad I stayed the course. So I appreciate you sharing, just that push to keep going. Hey, Tanisha, she said, I've been nursing for 4 months now. This is really tough. I understand, Starla. Well, you keep going, keep pushing, keep nursing, because it's amazing. So thank you. So Starla, we're going to invite you and all the ladies to come back on screen. You can just sit right there tight. Everyone else, Bianca, Sharnice, Kiera, Latoya, welcome back. Again, I just want to encourage our viewers, if you have any questions for these lovely women, please drop them in the comment section. I do have a question for you. For those of you who chose doulas, you don't, if everyone wants to speak or whatever, that's fine. But why? Why did you go the doula route?
I can share. I don't want to cut anybody up. Okay. So I'm located in Akron, Ohio. Well, technically still, but it's a suburb of Akron. And the city of Akron has the highest infant mortality rate in America, in any big major city. So that was the biggest reason why I immediately wanted a doula. Also, I knew that I wanted to have a natural birth, as natural as I could. Sometimes when you go to certain hospitals, they're all about the business of the hospital, right? And how that works. And they don't necessarily encourage you to go the natural route. Sometimes they try to force like epidurals or Pitocin and like all this stuff. And so I needed a doula, which I said earlier on the call that I had 2 of them, my Aunt Jackie and Yukina, and they were supportive. Unfortunately, though, I ended up getting induced earlier than I need to, which I think was probably the cause of me ended up having a C-section. I went as far as I could. I was literally in labor for 70 hours.
Wow.
active labor for 40. And so I couldn't dilate past 5 centimeters. And so once that happened, it's like, all right, it's game time. It's time to get her out. She's been here a long time. So, you know, unfortunately, had a C-section, but I know what to do next time. I'm going to trust my body. And again, just not allow myself to get induced, regardless of what they say. Again, stay the course. Don't be discouraged. Like, you got it.
Thank you. Anyone else want to share why they chose a doula?
So I chose. Yes, so I chose a doula because I went to several doctors, and they just didn't give the support that I felt like I needed. Like I literally had to have a debate with a doctor about what I felt was best for me and my baby. And I ended up leaving that doctor, and I went to another doctor, and I still had the same issues. And I had a cousin that was going through a doula. She had a doula with Birth and Beautiful Communities, and she suggested it to me. And it was probably one of the best experiences that I've encountered with having kids. My son came completely natural at home, unplanned. My water broke, and he came at the ambulance, got there 2 minutes too late. Yukina was my doula. And she was amazing through the process. Unfortunately, no one made it there. His dad actually had towels and delivered him himself. But having a doula, like that extra that you feel like you need when you don't know medical terms, or when you can't really articulate how you feel, but your doula can kind of understand because she's experienced it with other moms. And she's just that support system to help you through, cluster feeding. You thinking your baby's not getting enough milk, and you're like, okay, this baby's eating every 30 minutes, you know what I'm saying? And so you have these questions, and you're concerned about certain things, and you can't call doctor, for little small stuff like the baby's eating too much. So you have a doula that you can go to for support. And that's what Birth and Beautiful Communities provided to me. And so that's why I opted to go with the doula.
Nice. Anyone else?
I just wanted to share that I wasn't familiar with the word doula at all, ever. So through a program, which ladies, some of us who have like 211, they get some type of maybe information or programs that maybe kind of lead you to some type of support. That was one of the programs that they kind of educated me on. And once I received that call and found out, for one, that it's a Black community to help the minority rate of our Black children, I was just like, show me the way, because I am all ears. And being, like I said, a new mother with a gap between the children at my age, it was a whole new foundation of support, and I was so excited. Again, like Kiera said, it's such a high rate, and no one hears about it. It's almost like unless we talk about it now, sometimes you really don't even hear about it. It's like, it's really hurtful. And Jackie Hendon was also my doula as well. And so this was an amazing experience. I'm going to the top of the mountain, so to the point where I'm actually training to be a doula myself.
Oh, nice. That's awesome. All right. So before we bring our panel of beautiful doulas on, I do have one more question for anyone who wants to share. Because you guys are coming from, a community of women who have experienced breastfeeding, getting pregnant, all these wonderful things, right? You probably also experienced some misconceptions that you might have either overcome along your journey, or you just can say from your experience and what you've learned from your doulas and stuff like that, that you can share with the women who are watching that are like, well, wait, I heard this, or what about that? Is there any one misconception that you just kind of want to share that you can say, hey, look, this is what it is, or you know what I mean?
I would say for me, I think
you can go start.
sorry. I always had the impression, or you hear people talk about, vaginal delivery versus a C-section. And some people, I think, will have this misconception that like C-sections are easier, and that they're, it's just easier to get through than a vaginal birth. Having done both, I will be shouting from the mountaintops that a C-section is 10 times harder than a vaginal birth, especially after you've been laboring for a couple of days. And then the other thing I would also say is that what really helps me, especially working with BBC and my doula Yukina, is just advocating and her supporting me advocating for myself when I'm going to those doctor's appointments. I think there's this perception that, whatever your doctor says is exactly what you should do, that there really is no other course of action for the things that you're getting to. And that's just not true. I mean, there are a million ways to birth a baby and a million ways to get through your pregnancy. And you really need to do your research. And if you feel that, something is not going to be good for you, for your family, for your baby, be an advocate for yourself, and talk to your doula, listen to their feedback. There are a couple times where I went to Yukina just to be like, hey, I've got a million hormones running through me. Does this sound crazy? Or do you think what I'm saying sounds right? And she gave me that honest, unbiased feedback, and it really helps this time around.
Nice. Any misconceptions about breastfeeding that you want to share, someone?
Well, absolutely. Like, the one thing that you guys talked about it too, like that it's so hard to breastfeed and go and do your life for real. Like you really can do both. Like I mentioned, I am in Oregon with my baby, breastfeeding and pumping. It is 100% possible. Does it take planning? Absolutely. But like you can definitely still have a life, do the things that you love, and still nourish your baby in the way that you want to. It's highly possible.
Nice. Anyone else?
I second that 1000%. I said before, I hear some kickback. Okay. Breastfeeding is a full-time job, right? But even if you have a full-time job, some of us are fortunate enough to be able to work remote. Some of you have to physically go to your job, right? Yeah. But again, advocate for yourself. By law, your job has to provide a space for you to breastfeed. There should be a space for you to breastfeed privately, somewhere for you to store your milk. You tell them this is the time I'm taking a break to breastfeed, and that's that. Advocate for yourself. Lastly, the thing I want to mention, a misconception, is weight loss, right? People say, oh, if you breastfeed, you'll lose all this weight. Okay, listen. If you think that you're going to be snatched to the gods in a matter of weeks, no. But all I will say to you, though, is just go through it organically. Just take your time. There's no rush to get back to where you were. Like the way that your body is after pregnancy, it's your new normal. Fall in love with yourself all over again. And then when you get to that space where you have the time to really love on yourself and self-care and put on the work and work out, then do so. But don't force it to say, oh, Tiana Taylor, I seen after her baby, she was snatched to the guys and skinny. Everybody's not gonna look like that.
No, I really appreciate you saying that, Kier, because as women, we have so much pressure from all angles. And it's like, it's hard. You're taking on 10 months or so of carrying a baby, you're gaining weight, you're going through all these hormonal changes and all these things. And then we're promised in our minds or just through society that, if we breastfeed, like you said, we're going to be snatched. But everybody's body's different and everybody's situation is different. So I'll say this, and I'm saying this respectfully, and as a woman, again, who breastfed and went through the whole process with giving birth to my son, one, understand that we are all different. So even if you're excited to breastfeed because that might help you lose weight, if that's your goal, fine, but don't be discouraged if that's not your journey. Just like she said, stay the course and just be encouraged that if nothing else, you're doing it for the well-being of your child. So you know what I mean? Like I also say, don't just breastfeed just because you want to get snatched. You know what I mean? Like, understand what breastfeeding really does for you, for your baby, for your family, and understand that everything else will kind of come just, yes. So I just wanted to say that. But I appreciate you saying that because that is something that is definitely talked about. And that's the one thing I always hear women jump to, especially in like what I do. You know what I mean? So thank you for sharing that. Well, ladies, I want to say on behalf of everyone. Oh, you got one more thing? I'm sorry, Shanice. Go ahead.
Yes. I was just going to say, we hear all of this, well, you should breastfeed or, us pushing an agenda of, breastfeed. But we have to understand that everybody can't. And like Starla, she could go for a certain amount of weeks. Go for what you can. If you can only breastfeed while you're in the hospital, do that. If you can only go for 1 week, do that. Because that 1 week of breastfeeding is giving that baby all of the nutrients that he or she need. If you have to bottle feed, because everybody's body can't, produce milk. We have medical conditions. We have things in life that prevent us from doing it. Do what is best for you and your baby at whatever cost that is. Your baby is hungry, feed them. I strongly encourage breastfeeding. It has been an amazing experience for me, but I just wanted to throw that out there that we we say breastfeed, but we also want our babies to be healthy. So
Yeah.
if you try it and it's not for you, then okay, but just at least try it. Don't just write it off because it's a lot of work. But also don't stress yourself out about it because your body can't produce it, or different things prevent you from doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. Be proud of yourself because, like you said, we don't know. You know what I mean? Like, we don't know what the outcome is going to automatically be. So, if you tried it and hey, you got a week, perfect. Don't be discouraged. We all hear these stories from our community, from other women. Hey, I did it for 2 years. And you're like, now you're all kind of sucking in the corner because you're not sure if you can do that for yours. But that might not be your situation. But still try. Do your best. We are moms for a reason. So, mommy as best as you can and believe in yourself and don't give up. And if you can't, then just be proud of what you can do. You know what I mean? And then still encourage those in your community because it's still very good to know and a very good habit to have. So again, thank you all so much for sharing your testimonies. We appreciate y'all. Keep doing your thing with your families and stuff like that. If you guys do have any questions for these ladies, again, feel free to put them in the comments. But right now, we're going to say thank you, and we're going to check in with BBC's doulas. A lot of the names that you heard these beautiful women speak on that help them get through their journey of giving birth, as well as lactation support and stuff like that. So we're going to welcome on Yukina Stallworth, Myla Nunn, Deborah Bell, and Marlene Morris. All doulas with Birthing Beautiful Communities. Welcome. Hey, ladies. How are you?
Good. How are you?
So
Well,
good.
how are you?
I love conversations like this because I feel like these are the things we don't talk about enough. So I'm glad that, August brought us together for breastfeeding month and just for this amazing experience that mommies are doing now. Mommies to be will get to do, and those that have discouragement and concerns can learn more about. So we're going to jump right into it. We're going to have as much information as you guys can provide for these women watching. And I want to start out with women have heard breastfeeding is hard. We've heard testimonies from women who had their struggles and had their experience with it. What would you say to the mom that's like, I can't do it. This is too hard for me. Should they still breastfeed? Should I still breastfeed even though my experience isn't the best right now?
Yes, I think that. No, can you guys hear me? Okay.
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, no, breastfeeding is challenging, and this is one of the things that I do tell my clients that although it's difficult, especially those first few weeks, it's a learning curve for mom and baby, really understanding how to latch baby, understanding nipple care and all of those things. It is challenging, but the benefits outweigh the challenges. Like it is the best thing for your child and also for you. It does help you metabolize. I know one of the ladies mentioned that she didn't lose weight, but it does help because you do metabolize a lot. Your metabolism does go up. So even though it's challenging, the benefits totally outweigh. Your baby gets the antibodies from you. Your baby gets that skin to skin bonding. Studies show that there's actual chemical bonding that happens when they're skin to skin, even with the father. So yes, so definitely try it as much as you can. Get the support. We have, lactation counselors. There's also support groups that you can go to that will support you. So if you are planning on breastfeeding, just be sure to have a support team because it will be challenging for the most part.
I found breastfeeding to be easy. Probably because I had relatives that breastfed their babies and they were young and I had seen them breastfeed. But I researched it and I knew that it would help my baby's brain and to help them to be smarter. So I had four daughters. I breastfed all four of them. The least for 6 months, and the one that I breastfed the longest was 18 months. She was my second daughter, and she was so small for her age, height wise. I thought, well, maybe if I just breastfeed her a little bit longer, she'll grow. Well, she's still only 4'11", so that didn't work out. But she's smart as hell. So, and the only reason that I stopped breastfeeding her at 18 months, she was tearing my clothes off in public, and she could talk. And she's in the grocery cart at the grocery store going, milk, milk. And so I was like, you're done.
Okay.
So that was that. But she didn't seem to miss it after a day or two. So
Okay.
that was fun. It was an easy transition. And I didn't lose a pound. So but then on the other hand, my granddaughter breastfed her 10-pound son for 2 years, and she lost 90 pounds.
Wow.
I guess everybody's
different, yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And I found it to be easy. The daughter that I stopped breastfeeding early, I had to wash bottles and sterilize bottles and boil nipples and all that, and that was way harder. So to me, the breastfeeding was so much easier.
Yeah. Thank you, Deborah.
I wanted to add to that. I was a teen mom with my firstborn, so I really didn't have that adequate support. As they mentioned, I did have some breastfeeding family, but my mother was not. She did the best she could, so she couldn't really give me any guidance. But like Marlene was stating earlier, I did my own research. I knew the benefits that it would have for my baby.
Yeah.
So even as a young girl, I still, took those extra steps. And yes, it was hard in the beginning. Nobody tells you how hard it is once you leave the hospital. Nobody's there to really assist you. So that additional support works wonders, and it will help you get through. So organizations like Birth and Beautiful Communities can be very, very helpful in your breastfeeding journey, because that support makes the difference.
Yeah. I want to say before you come on, Yukina, it's funny you mentioned that, because I remember my lactation specialist came in. I think it might have been that night or whatever it was, a couple of hours after I gave birth. And then, of course, that's the last time you see them. And then, I do remember it being in my packet of information, like, oh, if you have any questions, but it's in that packet and it's away. So it's out of sight, out of mind. So a lot of moms forget, dang, I actually need some help. And then you forget that you have these support groups out here like BBC that can help you. So it's really, really encouraging and wonderful to know that we have this, because again, once you leave that hospital, sometimes you forget about those things. You forget about those resources, and you might feel like you don't have anything, but you do. You have Birthing Beautiful Communities. You have, resources like this to help you still get that help and support you need. So thank
Absolutely.
you. Yukina. Hey, girl.
Hey, I feel like I want to bust a dance move or something. But no, the word hard, right? It kind of sounds scary.
Yeah.
Challenging, yes. With being a mom of multiples, I believe in my experience, none were the same. They had their similarities. And that's the good thing about breastfeeding, right? We have these stigmas, these ideals and realities of what this process is looking like. And I think when we take this journey, we have to understand what fits us best, right? And I think that's the beauty in having the ladies be able to tell their positions and how their stories go. So we have the math to where if you do this, then this should happen. If you do that, then that should happen. But what about those things that are unspoken that we don't talk about? So you have to pick the role of what fits for you. And that's just basically starting off with that first golden hour, skin to skin bonding, and allow yourself to transition through the process of being able to nurse and feed your baby. And that's really what it is. It's a process. It's not going to come overnight. You press that button on a microwave, start, you got popcorn. You have to go through the process and allow your body to transition so that you can reach the goals that you have set for yourself. And that's the beauty in it. That is the relatability to all women.
Nice. Thank you guys so much for that. So anyone can chime in for this next question. What is cluster feeding? And then how does a mom stop their baby from cluster feeding?
Okay, so cluster feeding is back-to-back continuous feedings. Typically, breastfed babies are feeding every 2 to 3 hours in the beginning. So your cluster feeds will be, you could feed your baby 4 to 5 times in an hour. It's continuous. It kind of seems draining, but what we what we need to know about cluster feeding is that our babies are establishing our breast milk supply. So it's supply and demand. We have to put the baby to the breast so that our bodies know to make enough. So cluster feeding usually happens when babies are growing and developing. And as you know, babies grow so fast, especially in those first few weeks. They double their weight when they're typically when they're going back to their 6 week checkup. So don't be discouraged by cluster feeding. It doesn't mean that you're not making enough. It's just your baby establishing your supply for them.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. All right, let's see here. If my baby experiences nipple confusion, what should I do?
You should offer the breast first. If your baby is given the bottle first, he will never take the breast because the bottle is so much easier. So when your baby's hungry, you want to calm your baby if he's fussy or crying or she, hold your baby to your breast without a bra on, without a shirt on, and want your baby uncovered as well, and it helps calm your baby. And then offer the breast first. And usually, eventually, they will go back to taking the breast. But if not, continue. Don't give up. Continue to keep offering the breast first. And some babies will relatch.
Okay. All right.
There's also different techniques you can use too,
Mhm.
especially like if your baby was like a NICU or something like that. You can use the syringe method, where you kind of put like the syringe next to your finger, put like a glove on, and like have the baby suck from that. So then they're learning to suck and that it takes work. Because what happens typically if they have been given bottles, it's way much easier. So you want to build that strength back up for them to know it takes work to get the nipple out, as well as you could put a nipple shield on your breast, add a little milk on there first so they can kind of smell it. And that plastic will kind of give them the illusion that they're having a
Yeah.
bottle, but it's actually your nipple.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And also, they may use a tube syringe taped on your breast next to your nipple, so that while they're mouthing your nipples, the milk supply is going in, and they're kind of getting the idea of it. And you can also use a spoon if your baby's, you know, had been in the NICU and doesn't have a good sucking reflex as
Okay.
well, and dribble the milk into their mouth. But again, put the milk on the nipple so that they kind of get the smell of it and know, okay, this is food. And, just relax and trust the process.
Yes, and I do want to add a easier way to approach that. If you're going to do both, if you're going to bottle feed, try to get bottles and products that mimic the breast.
Mhm.
That will help minimize the possibility that your baby will get confused. They have plenty of bottle lines, product lines that can assist you. Well, not assist you, but they can help you kind of mimic your own breast.
Yeah.
Tommy Tippy is one of them. They don't look like my breast, but they look like
Close enough.
close enough.
Close enough. Thank you, ladies. And I just want to chime in real quick. If anybody has just tapped into our event tonight, we are having a Latch party. Shout out to Birthing Beautiful Communities for being a part of this Latch party. It is breastfeeding month, and we want moms and mommies to be comfortable and encouraged to breastfeed, because it's a wonderful experience for your baby, for you, for their thriving, for their growing. And there's a lot of horror stories out there, misconceptions out there, but do not be discouraged. We have a wonderful team of women that have testimonies and can give you the knowledge and support that you need. So one of those horror stories that I hear all the time about women breastfeeding is, oh my gosh, my nipples are so sore, they are tender, they are raw, they hurt, everything hurts, I just want to be done. What do you guys say to those women that are like, I can't take it no more? Like, what tips do you have for them?
Yeah, that's having sore breasts or sore nipples can be a very common problem. There's a lot of things to reassess when this comes up. The first thing you would want to consider is just making sure you have a proper latch. And that's by making sure that majority of the areola is in the baby's mouth, towards the top and the roof of the baby's mouth. And just making sure that the line, it kind of shows that a can't think of the word right now, the symmetric line, that diagonal line, like a shape of the letter A. That's knowing that you got a proper latch. And then also to listening to the sounds. So it shouldn't be like gasping for air or a click. It should just be like a sucking, a nice soft sucking sound, giving you the instinct that the baby is latched properly to mom's breast. And then if you are still experiencing soreness, again, because it could be various issues, you can have a oversupply of milk, and moms can be sore for trying to put the baby to the breast or pump it out. You can also do some nursing techniques yourself, and that's by using like a basin bowl or a dish pan, if you will, and soak your breast to kind of help give that softness, that aid to the breast, and then allow them to naturally dry. And you can also hand express and massage and rub some of your milk right on that areola area, right where it's sensitive. Now, I know we got a lot of products out there, a lot of creams, ointments, all that, but the antibodies, the natural formula made up in your breast, and I won't say formula as a chemical, but that
Right.
and the hormone in your breast, that natural antigen will help heal that area so that you won't have to rely on any other out-of-pocket costs or other products to help heal that area as well. And then secondly, just watch the positions, use positions that work for you, being able to know those hunger and feeding cues as well. So if we're missing them early on and then you go to put the baby to the breast, they're having a stronger suck because we may have missed some feeding cues along the way. So just reassessing that latch, maybe hand massage. You can do a hot or cold compress and even hand expression. And then you may want to also work on those feeding cues in different positions that can help encourage that as well.
Thank
And
you.
also, you may need, if your bra is tight and constricting, you may need to let your breasts be free and go without a bra, especially at home, and let them just be in the air, and that can also help that.
Yep, let them hang.
Also, check the flanges. If you are pumping, sometimes the flanges can be too small. So make sure, and it doesn't go by your breast size, it goes by your nipple size. So just make sure your nipple has enough space to expand within that flangel if you're breastfeeding, because if not, that too can cause you to have pain and soreness.
Yes, and ladies, I want to add too. I did some extended breastfeeding, so I had a teething baby. That bacteria from your baby's mouth can contribute to some soreness and some. It can lead to infection if you're not careful. So wash your breasts after a feed and make sure you pat them dry. Some over-the-counter things that I used was Lanosil, but that was my first trip. But my second time around, I used more organic products like coconut oil, some things just to keep your nipples moisturized, because the older they get, the more intense the sucking can be. When they're using you for comfort, for teething, or whenever they're sick, they can keep a good latch on. So yeah, just keep your breasts nice and clean, and also use some moisture barriers to make sure that they don't get dry and chapped as well too.
But you don't want to put soap on your areolas, on your nipples, because some babies may refuse to nurse because you no longer smell like mom. You've changed the odor of your body. So don't use soap. Cleanse with water.
Okay. Thank you. All right, our last question, and this was something Bianca, one of our testimony moms, alluded to earlier, and it's something that a lot of women are getting hip to. Like, oh snap, let me find out. So you might be one of those overproducing moms, or maybe you're just done. You've accomplished your goal of breastfeeding your child or children, and you have this freezer full of frozen milk, breast milk, that liquid gold, right? And you're like, dang, what can I do with all of this? I don't want to throw it out. So if you are a mom that has a freezer full of milk, or maybe you're a mom looking because you can't produce the milk and you heard about, well, I think they have donor milk. What do you guys suggest to the women who are wanting to donate or accept donated milk? Like, if you're a donating mom, how long can they keep the milk frozen? And then if you're a mom wanting to get donor milk, how do you go about getting that access?
So if you are storing your milk, first off, if you first hand express your milk, you can leave the milk out for up to 6 hours. If you are if the milk is warmed up in any form or fashion, like if you thawed it out or the freezer, it's only 2 hours that you can use that milk. And then you can put it in the refrigerator up to 6 days. And if you freeze it, you could put it in the freezer for as long as it's like in the deep freezer, like the coldest part of the freezer, up to 6 to 12 months, depending on the freezer. Like deep freezers, you can do up to 12 months. Typical freezers is like 6 months.
Okay.
But we strongly encourage women, based off the CDC, to get a reliable source, go to an actual donor bank, because that milk is then screened. However, some people do, have a cousin or a friend that they feel very comfortable with. They know them. They, will get milk from them. We don't necessarily encourage that, because at the end of the day, you don't know what that person is taking, and you don't know how it can impact your child. You don't know what that person is eating, so you don't know how it can impact your child either. So it could just cause so many different things. So we just strongly encourage women, especially, with preemies and stuff like that, just get the donor milk from the banks. There's several banks out there now, especially because of the formula shortage we had. There's so many different organizations who are now getting that donor milk and screening it so that they are able to give it out to clients.
Nice.
Yep. And to add to that, first thing before even giving it away, especially if your baby is becoming of age and you can start using more soft foods, use your milk to put inside of those foods as well. If you have a teething baby, make your baby some teething popsicles, some breast milk popsicles. They are perfect for helping get through that phase because it's cold, it's your milk, it's natural, it's all perfect. Use it for different remedies on things like we talked about, making a shampoo out of it. You can use it for actual agent for babies' faces if they're having that baby acne. There's so many different things. So I would consider using it first. Allow it, like if you're making your baby some homemade mashed potatoes or something, or mixing baby food, go ahead and put that milk right on in there instead of trying to use an almond milk or a water base or anything else. Go ahead and mix that breast milk in there. And then once you and your baby get to the point like, okay, I'm done with this, and you have extra milk, go into the process of researching organizations, other places that are donor organizations, or even your local hospitals, and talk to those NICU places or offices and say, hey, I have some milk. Maybe I can donate or see what I have to do, because there is a screening for that. And you definitely will have to go through the protocol of being able to donate milk to moms.
I love that that addition of using it too, because I think we forget, like, dang, we could really use this. You know what I mean? Like, yes, absolutely. I use mine for my son and some of his food and stuff like that. So absolutely, if you can use it before you can share it, definitely try that. But I appreciate you guys sharing that, because again, that was something that honestly, I mean, my son is 4. But I didn't know then. I don't know how long people have been donating milk. I don't know if they did it back then, but it's awesome that you have that option now. So there's always a resource. That's why I love these type of events. So yes, Jacqueline. Ladies, you guys are awesome. Love y'all. Don't even know y'all like that, but I love y'all because you guys are just awesome. And I love that we're coming together to really help our community. You know what I mean? This is what we need. We have to talk about these things. It shouldn't just be August, breastfeeding month. We should be talking about this all the time. But lucky for a viewer, you're watching right now. Birthing Beautiful Communities is not just the August thing. This is every day. You have the resource of these women to help you guys, to support you guys, to be your village, to be your family. So utilize them. You know, I don't know if we have questions in the comments, but we do have questions. We do have questions. Okay, all right, cool. Let's get a question on the popping real quick then. And I also want at some point just someone to share how they can get in contact with BBC for further information or for use of your resources. We can share that as well. And then one more thing is, I saw something. Is there something happening tomorrow? No?
With BBC?
Yeah. I thought I saw something say tomorrow night, 5:30 to 6:30. What's that? Am I tripping?
Is it mom's class?
Yeah, it would have been mom's class. Okay. With us being on our summer schedule, our class is a little bit more earlier introduced throughout the week. So we would have had mom's class tomorrow evening, typically from that 5:30 to 6:30 time.
Oh, okay, yes. Okay. All right, cool. And then what about the support groups?
Yes, awesome. So we do offer breastfeeding support groups once a month, not just for Birthing Beautiful clients, for all moms who may be pregnant, expecting, delivering, postpartum, and just wants to find more information and just talk to other moms about just their woes and foes, their logics and theories, even the myths when it comes to breastfeeding. We are here for it, and we're just here to advocate and help encourage you, to help you do your research and be a part of that process with you.
Yeah.
There is a breastfeeding
So there is.
support
Go
group
ahead.
tomorrow at 6.
Okay. So that's
It's
at 6. So not 5:30, but 6 o'clock, a breastfeeding support group.
It's
yes.
from 5:30 to
At
6:30.
5:30, 6:30.
Oh, okay. So 5:30 to 6:30. So all right, I wasn't tripping. All right, so that was a legit time for y'all. And yes, the support groups, my gosh, especially for the women who don't have that village, that that experience from their parents and their grandparents who breastfed. You might not have a friend that can share that experience with you, but you have these support groups. So if you ever felt like you were alone in your journey of pregnancy or breastfeeding or anything, you're not. You are absolutely not. There's somebody out there with a very similar story, and then you also have these women that can help you get through it physically, mentally, spirit, all of that. I love it. I love it.
So the website, you want me to spell
Yeah,
out the
drop that real
website?
quick. Absolutely.
So the website is www.birthandbeautiful.org,
Okay.
and you can go on. You can sign up for a doula. You can reach out. Does anyone know the hotline number off the top?
216-402-0924.
And you can call anytime. Miss Verna, she's our OG. She picks up. She picks up. She picks up. So you can contact her, ask her questions, and she'll lead you in the right direction.
Nice. And we did
You're
have
on
a
mute,
question.
Yukini.
Okay. Oh, Yukini, did you have something?
I'm sorry, I was just saying yes, both Akron and Cleveland areas. So moms can get support in both areas.
Okay. Nice.
And
Antoinette
anyone,
says,
even if you aren't, I'm sorry, even if you are not a client with BBC, breastfeeding support group is open to anyone.
nice. Okay, that's good to know. Very good to know. So we have a question. Why is breastfeeding or bottle feeding make a difference to make a bowel movement? Her daughter is 4 weeks old.
Okay, well,
From
I'm sorry. Let me just so breastfed babies have a different consistency in their bowels. They can be different consistencies, but more commonly, you will have the yellow, seedy, mustard color bowel movements for your breastfed babies. Due to the antibodies and all of the different nutrients and things that we produce for our babies, it just produces that consistency. Once your baby starts to grow and develop, adding things to their diet, your baby's bowel movement, I'm trying to refrain from saying poop, will change as well too. Where formula is more so iron fortified, so that's where you will have the darker, thicker consistency. Is usually a dark green to dark brown. It kind of looks a lot like ours as adults. So yes, that's different. And they do breastfed babies do use the bathroom more frequently. They have those big blowouts. So watch out for those.
Know about them.
Get some reliable diapers. Make sure you put some receiving blankets down because that's not diarrhea. That is normal. It is a normal consistency for breastfed babies.
Also, sometimes what happens is people will supplement the formula after the baby has been breastfed, and then the baby may get constipated. This is their bowels trying to kind of figure out what's going on. Their digestive system is like, whoa, that consistency is way different from what I've had. So a lot of times people will, throw a bottle in there, or someone will babysit or something, and, it will also impact their stools.
Gotcha.
And understand your milk goes through those phases and changes as well as your baby grows. So you will see the change in your baby's bowel movement. And those are the ways that doctors gauge, right? Healthy babies, how they're getting enough by the amount that they are having in diapers. So just allowing you to be able to transition that milk can also help that baby transition in their bowel movements too. You just want to continue to encourage those breastfeeding sessions. Whether you're pumping, you want to continue to encourage as much as those sessions as possible.
And also, your diet can affect the color of your baby's stool as well.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. We have one more question from the comments. Tanisha, yes. At what point do we see that flow for storage?
It varies from each individual. There are things that women can do to increase it. I've power pumping for some women, especially like right before they're going to go back to work or something. They'll start power pumping to increase that flow. But know that as you are increasing your flow, you are also at risk for engorgement. You know, so it's kind of it's a happy balance. There's different supplements. Some people use body armor to increase the flow, fenugreek. There's different things to increase that flow. But there is a stage where you will get more flow. You want to talk more about that, the flow of how the milk transition and what happens?
Absolutely. So once after delivery, you have that golden hour, which is that 2 hour, 1,000 hour that most doctors and research studies show that we should have after delivery. You'll get that first milk, which is that, well, not really your first milk, but it's colostrum, which is that real nice thick substance. And you really want to make sure that you allow the baby to get that liquid gold, because that is going to help with the process of the milk transitioning for the first milk to come in. If you're a first time mom, it could be between the first 2 weeks where you start to see your supply begin to come in. So once you get home, that postpartum phase, probably about the 5th to 7th day, your breasts are hard, they're hot to touch. You'll be able to see when that milk actually come in. I personally encourage most of my clients to allow themselves to nurse as much as possible throughout that first 6 weeks postpartum period. Why? Because you need to encourage baby. You need to learn your baby, adjust to the change, and accept your new normal, right? And then once you start to get through that development phase and your milk transitions with you, then and you going back to work, then you can go ahead and start the process of maybe pumping and storing your milk. So give yourself some time, mom. Hang in there and just allow your body to do what it's naturally capable of doing.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes,
Marley, you had something?
hydrate. Breast milk is a fluid, so you need to stay hydrated. Marlene mentioned body armor. Our moms swear by it. Get some. Get some electrolytes in to make sure you stay hydrated. Okay, it is very important that you do so. Those pumping sessions can be tedious, so please stay hydrated, especially during these hot temperatures.
Yes, rest when your baby is resting. Keep plenty of snacks on hand, because all the calories you're burning, you want to just stay energetic. You want to, not necessarily energetic, but you want to just stay stress free. You want to make sure that you have the energy that you need to let your body do what it needs to do to feed your baby.
And take your prenatal vitamins so that your hair and bones stay strong.
Yes. Ladies, thank you guys so much. This was so informative and so encouraging. I do want to reiterate again that you guys have support groups, and there is one happening tonight that we talked about, and that is from 5:30 to 6:30 for breastfeeding. There is the lovely link. Thank you, Krista. And thank you guys so much. I want to thank all the moms that gave us their testimonies early. I want to thank you ladies. I want to thank BBC, because this was awesome. I know that we have moms and mommy to bees on here like, yes, I can do it, and yes, you can. Okay, and let women that will do it with you. So utilize BBC, utilize your village, utilize your support groups, and stay strong, stay firm, be encouraged. You can do it. Let's grow healthy, beautiful babies. And yes, I just want to thank you guys so much. This was awesome. Hopefully we talk again soon. Again, breastfeeding is not just for August. This is every day for a lot of us. We are breastfeeding every day. So yes, utilize your resources. BBC, you guys are awesome. We just had a really dope Latch party. So if you know somebody that wasn't able to make it onto this tonight, please share the link, because it will be posted. Share it, because this information it'll be there. It's here for you. So thank you guys again.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Have a great night and a great
Happy
weekend.
breastfeeding.
Well, not thank me. One day if I get pregnant again.
Call us.
I will. I definitely will. Take care, y'all.
You too.